So what we're going to be talking about is something you probably already think you know about, which is British values. And everybody used to go, oh, not again. But British values are very important, particularly in this day and age. Because whether you realise it or not, there is a battle going on. And the battle's going on for people's minds, for cultures, for natures, for ways of living. And in 2011, the government brought in the British values, and particularly the 5 main key points of that. But in 2014, they discovered there were some people who had infiltrated the education system who were planning on undermining our whole society so that it would fall apart. And that's when it became a mandatory part of the curriculum with regular, as those who are educationalists will know, regular reinforcement of the key principles. So first of all, we're going to go over what those key principles are. Individual liberty, a freedom of speech for all. Those who came to the remembrance assemblies that I was part of will possibly remember that we looked at the Tower of London art installation there of the ceramic poppies that were put outside the Tower of London. And there were 888,000 plus individual poppies. Each one of those representing one person who died in the First World War, not the Second World War or others, so that you could have the freedom to choose and make decisions and freedom of speech. Then there's the rule of law. Why we need to understand there are rules and why they're important. And following those rules helps us keep order. Otherwise, if people are left to their own devices, there's chaos, violence, and all sorts of things that we don't want in our society. So the rule of law is really important. Rules are there not just to be awkward, but they give us security as well, because we know what our boundaries are. Mutual respect. Treating others as you want to be treated yourself. Now, I know that you're a generation that has gone through the lockdowns, and it's been very difficult, particularly when you've not met your friends and related to other people as often as you would have done. So you've turned to social media or your computer. And in lots of ways, young people are becoming more self-centered and not as caring as we would hope. Respect for each other. Some people think they're better than others. Some people think society owes them something. I'm a lot older than all of you, and I know that. I was taught anything you have to work hard for. It doesn't come on a plate. And you've got that opportunity at this age to start that process to make a difference. And working together. That's why the key phrase for this academy is teamwork through excellence. Democracy. Hard won. It's interesting that we're fighting that battle today in Ukraine, which allows you to be able to vote and choose the government and the way in which we live. It's also interesting that our British values are emulated all over the world. And we were the first ones to stand up for what was right for the First World War, the Second World War, the Falklands, and now Ukraine. the right to have an opinion and a voice. And the issue is, we won't always agree with each other, but that doesn't matter. We have the choice. And then there's tolerance, learning about different cultures and faiths. Listening to others' viewpoints and learning about difference. Now, you may remember the World Cup, and the news were going bananas about what the leaders of that country had said about banning alcohol in the stadiums. And also that nobody was permitted to have sexual relations with anyone who wasn't their wife. If you go to somebody else's country, particularly a country that is Muslim, you follow their rules. You honour their culture. It's interesting when people come here, because we're a multicultural society, people have forgotten what our British values are, so it seems that anything goes. But what was the outcome of that stance in Qatar? Peace. Go on.
Wasn't it no LGBTQ people were permitted to go?
Yeah, well, they were permitted to go. It was to do more with the demonstrations, trying to change their culture.
If you were part of the LGBTQ in Qatar, you would have been put to jail.
Yeah, you could have been. Yeah. That's their culture. You want to go there, you have to follow their rules. People did do it anyway. But there was no drunken fights. There were no riots. There was nobody jumping out from the crowd and thumping the goalkeeper in the back because they didn't like that they lost the game. And it was more friendly towards families. So although we may not agree with some of the stance of that nation, that structure is important. For us, you know, many years ago, too many I can count, I used to be a head waiter on a cruise ship and went round the world a couple of times. And as I went from country to country, I discovered that many of them had similar values to us. Not just because of the British Empire, but partly, wherever you think about the British Empire. With the parliamentary system, the legal system, their values. But if you look at the Commonwealth, where there's over 55 countries, not all of those countries were part of the British Empire. They've chosen to adopt our values as a good way of life. But then the question is, as young people, have you any morals? Or are you so self-centered that you don't care about anybody other than yourself? And what are morals? Our system in this country is based on the Ten Commandments. If you go into the Houses of Parliament, on the grand committee room wall, there's a huge painting of Moses receiving the Ten Commandments, a structure to live by. And in the floor of the main lobby, where you'll see the BBC and other people interviewing the MPs, in Latin, is unless the Lord builds the house, the builders build in vain. So unless you have a moral compass, everything falls apart. And those who study history will know that the downfall of the Roman Empire was because of immorality, which led to chaos, which led to the breakdown of family, which led down to all sorts of wickedness, and then they couldn't be governed. So if you're following this moral compass, Ten Commandments, you should not murder, commit adultery, steal, tell lies against your neighbour, want anything that somebody else has got. Some people have as their God money, and they'll trample on anyone to get it. But the whole idea of having this structure is that we become better than that. But it's not just a religious thing, this structure. Those who have read the fables of Aesop will discover that even within there are some key moral messages, and I'm going to share a few. A good friend is there when they're needed most. Anybody who goes through a challenge and a difficulty will find that the true friend is still there no matter what. So the question is, are you the real person we're looking at today? Or are we looking at just a mask? Are you trustworthy? Do you have integrity? Can you be trusted? And I know trust is a very difficult thing to give to someone else. Is your yes, yes, and your no, no? Another one, do good. Don't just speak about good. There's no point, as a Christian, there's no point in me just following religion, which is man-made anyway. It's about whether being a Christian changes my life from the inside out and makes me a better person that wants to invest and pass it on to someone else and bless them. Otherwise, what's the point of it? There isn't any. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Be authentic and real. Now, I know that at your age, because believe it or not, I was your age once, some people don't like their self-image or who they are because you're developing and you're trying to work things out, and it's not always difficult, particularly when, foolishly I would say, you're comparing yourself to someone else. And in this day of social media, where you take too much notice of what somebody else says, and in the end, who cares what somebody else says? It's what you feel about yourself. Each one of you is valuable in your own right. Each one of you has potential in your own right, but it's up to what you do with what you've been given. So if you have a difficulty in your life, it's how you deal with that difficulty which builds character and backbone. And one of the things we need is resilience. And resilience only comes through challenges and difficulties and winning over that. Lots of people try to avoid having difficult things in their lives, but life is not like that. Mind your own business. There's enough to worry about in your own life and moment by moment as worrying about what somebody else is doing. Learn from other people's misfortunes. Unfortunately, we don't learn from our own mistakes often. What I say to my people in church is, say you're sorry quickly and forgive quickly. Because I talk to many people who come to me because their relationship or their marriage is breaking down, and it started off with an argument or a disagreement, and they can't even remember what it was. But because they didn't say sorry or they didn't forgive, straight away, it ate them inside like a cancer. And it broke down that relationship. And in some cases, unfortunately, they're not able to reconcile it. And their relationship is broken. So that's something that I've learned over the years, to say sorry quickly and forgive quickly. But of course, you're young people. You might have too much pride to be able to say sorry or forgive someone. But you have to put that to one side and allow that to build character. Do you want to leave something behind that's valuable? You are the future of our nation and our country and our community and our families. Why don't you invest something that's good in each other? Treat each other with respect and well. You know, in this academy, we would be delighted to see you flourish. That's what the whole place is here for. Not to rush off. So I challenge you today, not just to listen to what I'm saying, but put it in action. Thank you.